So for those of you who are new to me, I'm going to dig in right now because there's a lot to cover in 90 minutes. I have been compiling things based on all of the feedback I've been getting. And, this is a topic I could talk about for days. So 90 minutes, piece of cake. So I'm Theresa Levine. For anybody who hasn't met me yet or been in one of these workshops before, I'm an EFT master practitioner, hypnotherapist, and a subconscious strategist. And what I really do, we're going to put it in simple terms, is I help people break free from hidden emotional and energetic patterns that are keeping them stuck. Much like what we're going to be talking about today with abundance. And I didn't always have the relationship that I have with abundance today. I spent years stuck in survival mode and thinking that if I worked harder, did more, then success and ease would eventually come and I would get to, enjoy those later. But as any of us know that have been stuck in this, that later doesn't come or we don't allow it for ourselves. And the cycle is brutal. It's no fun either. I constantly felt like no matter how much I achieved, I was still waiting for that feeling of arriving. That we kind of talked about that in some of the posts over on school. It's striving but never arriving. And that's very much what was happening for me. So does that sound familiar to anybody? Like, can you relate to that? Yeah, stuck in the struggle. Sure. So it wasn't until I realized that money, success, and opportunities were not things that I had to chase, but things that I had to allow, recognize, relax into, and appreciate, that everything really started to change for me. So my work isn't so much about mindset as it is about shifting energetic and emotional patterns that are wired deep into your subconscious that are blocking you from receiving. And that receiving could be wealth and money, could be other things. So we're going to talk about all of that today. But all of the abundance is meant for you. Like, it's already yours. It's just a matter of connecting with it. And today we're going to start to make some really powerful shifts together. So as a baseline, and before we get started, I'd love to kind of get a number rating, if we can do that. How open do you feel to receiving abundance? With a low number like 1 being, I totally resist it, and a number like 10 being, I'm wide open. I'd love to see those numbers in the chat and kind of hear where you guys are. So, all right, let's see. Denise is a 6, Erica's at a 10, Emil's at a 4, Wendy's at an 8, 6. Okay, lots of high numbers. Awesome. Sarah says, I'd love to be wide open, but I feel I'm probably about a 7. And that's fine. If we were all truly, genuinely wide open, we'd have a different story. So but feeling it is part of the beginning of making it a physical reality. So that feeling is actually a really important start to manifesting greater abundance in any area of your life. So I love seeing these responses. Camille's at a 10, perfect. This is how we start shifting energy right away. We kind of keep that in mind and we move forward. So I'm going to have I'm going to start sharing some slides with you guys, and we'll go into kind of like the teaching and coaching portion. And then I'm going to lead you guys through some sequential EFT tapping rounds that are going to really work on some of the main things that come up, especially around money, with money being a mirror for quite literally every area of abundance in our life. And we could do that with anything. We could use health as a mirror. We could use relationships as a mirror. Today, we're using money as a mirror because honestly, in all my time working, that's the one that people want to work on the most and the one that generally helps the other areas too. So why not, right? All right, so today we're here for From Survival to Abundance. And in this workshop, we're going to work on healing your relationship with receiving. And what you can expect today in this workshop is that we're going to start by getting some clarity around what's keeping you stuck in survival mode, what's blocking abundance for you. Then, like I just mentioned, we're going to do 3 probably powerful EFT rounds to clear deep-seated blocks, open you up to receiving energy. And we're going to experience kind of a major shift in how you think and feel about money, success, and abundance. And then once we're through those EFT rounds, I'm going to open things up so that we can do some, live Q&A, coaching, that kind of thing. So if you have any questions, please stay so that I can answer them for you and help you out however I can here on this workshop today. And then one more question before we really dive in, and that would be, what one word describes how you feel about money and receiving right now? Curious to hear that. Unworthy, stuck, blocked. Yeah. And these things will definitely, willing to open right up. Yeah. Awesome. That's perfect. Scared. Yeah. Bring it. 2 words. Sorry. It's fine. There's no real hard, fast rules here. It's just have fun with it. Give me what's coming to you intuitively. And if bring it's that, then bring it. So we're going to begin by looking at money as energy. And this is about raising your vibration, breaking your self-limiting patterns. So before we can shift our money reality, we have to understand that money is energy. Sounds woo, but literally everything is energy. So that's just kind of a fact to come to terms with. And let's see, Marianne says some fear, but also ready to receive from abundance. More than a few months ago. Okay, yeah, gotcha. More ready than a few months ago. That's awesome. Marianne and I have been working together for a few months, so I'm glad to hear that we're opening up more. Leah said blocked, unworthy, scared for receiving. All energy, not just money. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for those shares. So something like I mentioned before that's important to remember is that these principles apply no matter what you're working on receiving. If money isn't your biggest focus right now, that's fine. It's just that we can substitute, love, health, opportunities, whatever you want to in your life or business where it's not feeling as abundant as you would like it to. And the way that you interact with money is often the mirror for how you interact with receiving in all of those areas, which is why I made financial abundance the main focus today. So it's also the thing that you all brought up mainly in the group. So just like in everything else, money responds to your vibration, your thoughts, and your feelings. We can explain it kind of like a radio frequency. So if you're dialing the radio up and you put on an AM station, you dial it to 1510 AM, what do you expect to hear? You expect to hear 1510 AM, right? That's what you dialed it to. If you put on 93.7 FM, you expect to hear 93.7 FM. But let's say you tune in to 93.7 FM. Wouldn't it be weird if then you heard 1510 AM? It doesn't match. There's no match there. So with that in mind, if you're tuned in, if your radio station is these things here, unworthiness, blocked, scared, stuck, any of those kind of things, then you attract experiences that match that frequency. It could be unexpected bills, it could be financial struggle, never quite having enough, being worried about losing things, not handling them well. But if you start raising your vibration, even in small intentional ways, and that's where people get hung up because we think that we just are supposed to go affirm that we're millionaires and then be millionaires. And it doesn't quite work that way. And that's called goal trauma. You begin attracting opportunities, unexpected blessings, and more abundant financial flow. So let's talk a little bit about incremental upgrades. So instead of making what feels like an impossible leap, like what I just mentioned, that reality seems to laugh at when you say, then we want to shift your money frequency in small, manageable ways. For instance, you could start by choosing a slightly higher quality experience than you normally would give yourself. Maybe a higher quality coffee or tea to drink in the morning, a fresh set of sheets, upgraded version of something that you use daily. If you guys have examples of this or things that you would try or have tried that have felt like an incremental upgrade, feel free to drop them in the chat. It's going to be different for everybody, but just an upgraded version of something that you use daily. And it could even be as simple as, let's see, better skincare. Yeah, nice. That's a nice one. It always feels good when you have like a new, I don't know, like a new face cream that just smells amazing, that just makes you like feel really good when you put it on. And it makes you feel ageless and timeless and makes you feel like youth is abundant, which is another thing that's lovely, right? So that's a great example. Yeah, treat myself to a Big B iced coffee. That sounds yummy. So anything. And let's just think this too, because we can revel in things that are abundantly available also. Like upgrading your experience doesn't have to cost you a penny if you're in a place where that's not available to you. You can bask in abundant sunshine. You can soak up a beautiful spring day that are hopefully coming really soon. You can sit in a lush green area outdoors and notice an abundance of nature, which you are a part of. So there's always abundance that's available to you. You don't need money to experience abundance. But the small shifts that you make in appreciating that and taking it in shift your subconscious to expect and allow more abundance. Okay? And that's based on the idea that thoughts become things. Okay? What you think about, what you say about money is shaping your reality right now. So if you're somebody who's constantly affirming, I don't have enough, I'm broke, money's so hard to make, I don't make enough of it, then what your subconscious mind reinforces is that. But what if you replaced those kind of statements with something like, I always have more than enough. Money or love or health flows easily and effortlessly to me. I'm worthy of financial abundance. Your words carry energy. I love this quote from Napoleon Hill. I'll put it up on the screen. And the quote says, riches begin in the form of thought. The amount is limited only by the person whose mind the thought is put into motion. So just let that sink in a little bit. What you focus on expands. Focus on abundance, abundance grows. It's as simple as that. So there's a toll that we pay when we get into self-doubt, complaint, when we're in lack of belief. Every time you doubt your ability to receive, or you're complaining about money, or you're focusing on what you feel like you don't have, you're reinforcing a lower frequency. And that frequency repels abundance. It also makes you feel like crap. Like, let's just be honest. It's not a good feeling. It's a low vibration feeling. So what I want to do is I want to share this acronym I've come up with, the about limits. And we're going to kind of walk through that to see what these different things stand for and how they're limiting you and holding you back. So the first letter in limit is L, right? So with L, we're going to talk about our lack thoughts. So like, are you always noticing what's missing instead of what's possible? Is that kind of a perspective that maybe you take? Perhaps if you grew up hearing, I love that. Yeah, quit the stinking thinking. That's such a helpful one. Sorry, I'm missing a few things in the comments here, so let me just catch up before I move forward with this acronym. This is my struggle. As a hairstylist, I have clients who start complaining about money, and then I find it hard not to get sucked in. Yeah, so this is where incremental upgrades come in too, Sarah, because like what you allow in is going to affect like your vibration. Simple things like protecting your own energy before seeing a client. I always say like there's like simple techniques for like energy protection where you can like maybe like before you head into the fresh client, you like zip up. You take your fingers like you're holding a zipper between your fingers down at your pelvis area, like you're bringing a zipper, bring it up to your lower lip, hook. Bring your hands over your head, bring that zipper up over your face, down your nose, to your upper lip, hook. Don't cross your mouth because you don't want to close that energy. You want your throat chakra and your voice to be able to express itself, but you want to protect your energy from the negativity. Also, like don't indulge it. I know like hairstylists, you get, it's great to be able to have a conversation with your hairstylist. I love talking with mine too, but I like to keep the conversation upbeat when I'm in there. And what you allow, little by little, you'll start noticing we'll start attracting different types of clients. Or maybe it will start attracting a different type of environment or salon or place where you're providing your services and different opportunities. The shift in you can literally shift others. This is how and why when I'm coaching people in relationships, they can come and say like, my husband, my wife, my partner, whoever, they don't want to do the work. I want to see this change, whatever else. And like, it doesn't matter. It's not about them changing. You can create so much change in a relationship through your own presence and your own way of showing up. Believe me, I had a husband that wasn't interested in doing the work either. We've made massive strides in our relationship. And sometimes, one partner just needs to be the leader there. And work is very much the same. So love that. All right, cool. So let's go back to this framework here and talk about stretching those limits. So if you maybe grew up hearing things like, we can't afford that, money's hard to come by, those things are likely still shaping your financial reality, even if your conscious mind understands differently, okay? Many of my clients start with a scarcity script running in their minds. The shift begins when they start focusing on what they do have and what is possible, okay? And then the next letter that we have in this acronym is I. So with that, we're talking about invalidation. Do you dismiss small wins instead of celebrating them? I had a client who started seeing unexpected money show up in small ways, $10 here, a free meal there, that kind of thing. But she kept dismissing those sorts of things as not real wins. So when she finally started celebrating all of the wins, bigger and bigger things, bigger financial blessings, like clients that were finally paying her thousands of dollars each started appearing. So I say it often, but I don't think it can be overstated. What we appreciate appreciates. So it's like, where are you putting your appreciation? Where are you putting your gratitude? I know they sound like these catch cliche things like, oh, I have a gratitude journal. I'm going to express my thankfulness, all this kind of, and it feels like it gets lost. It doesn't. That literally is vibrational raising happening when we kind of rampage our appreciation and spill all of that out each day. And celebrating wins is a huge thing. The next letter in the acronym, M, is about our money resistance. So with this one, we're looking at like, does receiving money make you feel uncomfortable? Does receiving money make you feel guilty? This can show up for a lot of entrepreneurs and professionals. I realize we have a mix here. People who end up undercharging or over-delivering. So if you feel uneasy setting rates that pay you abundantly and allow you to deliver your services, goods, or talents the way that, serves the highest good of all, then your subconscious is resisting wealth. So this can also happen if you if you clam up, like when it's time to name your price, or you constantly offer a discount. So what we'll be doing later in the form of EFT tapping can really help you to clear that discomfort so that you can charge and receive with ease and confidence, which is huge. It's huge to be able to claim our worth and stand firmly in that. The next letter in the acronym, the I, is all about our inner critic. So with that, we want to look at, are you constantly doubting your ability to succeed? If I told you like you could turn things around, would you believe it? Or do you doubt and not have, self-trust? If you have that little voice or big voice for some of us inside of you that's always piping up and saying things like, who am I to charge this much? Or I don't deserve more. That's your inner critic. So that voice will keep you small. So it's about having the conviction in your own bigness, your own worth to overcome that makes such a big difference. Success isn't reserved for a chosen few, okay? And your success or your wealth or your abundance is not going to prevent anybody else from having it. Sometimes that's a hang up people have too. It's like, well, if I succeed, then other people won't be able to. Or like there's some unlimited pot of abundance or some limited pot of abundance, I meant to say. And that if you take some, then it won't be there for other people. It'll be there for them. Vibration and energy are so important that even people getting stuck in lack, or people who are feeling like, why does everybody else have the money, or why are there only a few super rich people, or whatever, we could divide all the money in the world equally amongst everybody in the world, and it would still end up, in a matter of time, I can't predict how much time, it would go right back into the hands of the people that had more of it, because they were ready for it. So it's not about a fairness thing or whatever else. It's about your own energy and how you're showing up and attracting what you're attracting into your life, and then taking responsibility for the parts of that you do have control over. So you're not part of some group that's excluded. It's kind of what this comes down to. Abundance is available to everyone. You're included in that. You're worthy of that. It's your birthright. But you have to do the work to connect with it. Okay? All right. I'm just going to check the chat again. Thanks, Sarah. So Sarah says, struggle with raising my prices while everything around us is going up in price. I know I need to, but part of me feels like I'm part of the problem when I do that. Yeah, I can hear you there too. And also it's costing you more to live and provide your services. So, when the cost of eggs are through the roof, we got to charge a little bit more money. And when there's, everything's going up. There's all sorts of stuff. That's a whole other workshop. The state of the world at large. But yeah, I can totally understand that. But it's preventing you from standing fully in your power. You're limiting yourself because of a belief. And beliefs are never the capital T truth. They're just beliefs. They're stories. And oh my God, how we love our stories. We get addicted to our stories. We will take our stories to the grave because we feel like they're so damn important, and we're so attached to our stories and our beliefs. So, just notice that. Is it a belief or is it the truth? Is it really true? Even looking at that, is it really true that everything is going up in price? Is it really true that you're part of the problem? Is it really true that people couldn't afford to utilize your services if you charge what you felt like you were worth? And I can tell you, without you even answering, it's not true. None of those things are actually true. There are people out there who will afford you no matter what price you put on what you're doing. It's just a matter of finding them. And part of finding them is your own vibration, because you will vibe with what you're charging, and you will vibe with the people that are coming in. So the last letter in limit is T, and there we're looking at toxic patterns. So here it's like, do you repeat behaviors that keep you in financial struggle? This could be avoiding looking at your bank account. This could be impulse spending. That one comes up a lot in this group because we're a lot of ADHD entrepreneurs. We're impulsive people. Let's see. Do you stay at a job or a level in your business, kind of like what we were just talking about, that doesn't allow for growth and receiving that you desire? Do you procrastinate on opportunities? If you've read my book, Becoming More Me, Tapping into Success, Subconscious Secrets of an ADHD Entrepreneurial Mom, I used to struggle with cycles of earning and self-sabotage, especially after my car accidents, especially after being put on disability. And breaking free starts with recognizing these patterns and shifting them one choice at a time. The good news with all of these patterns that are in this LIMIT acronym is that awareness is the first step of breaking free and creating an upgraded version of your life and your relationship with abundance. So today we're going to start clearing those patterns so that you can start stepping into a new and different financial reality. Let's see. Kim says, I want to charge more, but then I think, am I really that good to charge that? Yeah, worthiness. And then I know I am, and then I go back to thinking that I'm not. I flip-flop, and then I don't do anything. Yeah, that's perfect demonstration of some of those things, Kim. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I've been there too. Definitely been there too. I can understand that one. I have felt that one. I have been through that one. And there's also plenty of ways that we can get to the other side of that. So let's transition now from looking at releasing those limits to leading into more money. one more acronym for you, then we're going to get tapping. I love my acronyms. So now that we've identified those hidden limits that we've placed on our ability to receive, and you guys have been so awesome and vulnerable and open and sharing, thank you. Keep it coming. This is like what makes these workshops meaningful, and it also helps me to make the EFT more powerful for you in a few minutes. We know where our blocks are. We can start making conscious choices to open up new financial pathways. Okay, this is where this acronym MONEY comes in. This is going to be helping you see exactly where your energy is around money, and whether it's flowing or getting stuck. Okay, so we're going to start pinpointing some financial patterns and show you how to move from scarcity and survival into more aligned abundance. So we understand that money is energy. Now we can go deeper into the specific ways that we relate to it. Okay, because money is not just about what's in your bank account. Money carries an emotional charge, and how you relate to it determines your financial reality. I often ask people, like when we're having a conversation about money, it's like, if money was your boyfriend or your girlfriend, if money was your lover, what would it think about you? What would it think about the way you treat it? Or how does it feel about the way it treats you? Like, there's a relationship going on there, and if you've never examined it, there's some really interesting things to pull through. And most people realize they have what would be considered a very dysfunctional relationship if it were actually a couple. So to break it down, I created this acronym, and this is going to outline the 5 like key categories of wealth energy. So kind of a diagnostic tool. So we'll start with the M. And M is for mindset and income. So your income is directly tied to what you believe you deserve. Okay, back to beliefs. Beliefs are powerful. This is why I love hypnotherapy, because in hypnotherapy, we get to reframe and recreate new beliefs in the subconscious mind where they're really operating and being powerful. So many of us, and there was, let's see, in the community, Safia, Crystal both mentioned hearing that they growing up hearing phrases like, we can't afford that, or that's too expensive. Over time, those kind of statements, and those are really common. I think a lot of people probably heard that in one way, shape, or form growing up. Those become internalized beliefs. And that makes parting with money feel unsafe. And it also makes accumulating wealth feel out of reach, because you didn't see an example of it or feel that. So if you subconsciously believe that there's never enough, you will find yourself stuck in a cycle of scarcity no matter how much you earn. So Erica says, for me, it's about thinking I'm saying or doing something wrong and triple checking myself. Lack of confidence. Yeah. And that, it's so interesting. I did a call with my clients the other day, and we were talking about this. We were talking about, conversations and wanting to be like genuinely and authentically heard and understood and respected in conversation, and realizing that sometimes people just are not at the same place that we are to meet us in that place and have those kind of conversations. But we were also talking about how it's like, can you really ever think of an example where like that was really like such a horrible thing? Like, that you expressed yourself, like you're still here, you learn from it, you move on. That lack of confidence can really hold us back. And it's like, you can do the scary thing that makes a difference the way that you want it to, or you can stay where you are, which is also scary sometimes and also doesn't get you where you want it to. So it's like, just kind of choose the scary and figure it out on the way, energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically. So yeah, that's the M, this whole cycle of scarcity. And then when we move into the O, that's outflow or debt. So debt carries a lot of guilt and shame. We're actually going to dial in on this in one of the rounds of EFT. I know in the community, Tiffany and James mentioned that they felt like they had to work excessively hard just to justify having money. So when debt feels like a burden, it's often tied to a subconscious belief that money must be earned in some kind of a painful way. That's hard. Reframing debt as a past investment in yourself rather than a failure starts to help to remove some of that emotional weight. And honestly, like we can go really into the quantum here, but like money's energy and debt's just an energy too. Like, and money is like, it's made up. Like literally, we made this shit up. So it's like, but we make it mean so much. It's numbers. It's just, we made it all up. We made it worth what it's worth. We made it mean what it means. We go back to A Course in Miracles. Literally anything that has any meaning to you, you assigned the meaning to it. Nothing had any meaning before that. So assign a new meaning to the things that are feeling heavy about this for yourself so that you can kind of lighten the F up and start moving in the direction that you want to. Because if staying in the heavy burdensome zone of feeling like crap about everything and making it mean something awful was going to work for making it all better, it would have worked by now. That's pretty much what I can say about that. Moving on to the next letter in money, we have N. So this is nesting, savings. And your savings habits reflect your level of trust in financial stability. So I know Elise in our community mentions that she had a really good post in there, and she was talking about how she felt guilty receiving money for things that like she even should be paid for. I believe her example was something around like her mother or her mother-in-law asking her to go grocery shopping for her or something, and she shows up with the groceries and like naturally like, mom's going to pay you for the groceries. Like she asked you to go get them, whatever, and feeling guilty accepting that. So if you struggle to accept money, how can you expect to hold on to it? Learning to receive without guilt is key to feeling safe with abundance, safe with wealth. And this mirrors big time in relationships, guys. I see this a lot with the women and the men that I work with who, you know, they're used to being givers in relationships. They are not used to receiving. And they're certainly not used to receiving without expectation of having to give in return. So that's a huge part of this. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So let me catch up on the chat over here. Denise said, it boils down to fear of success because I've struggled majority of my life and I don't know what it's like to not struggle. And that's scary. Okay. I can definitely see and relate to that. Why have you made it mean that it's scary, I wonder? Or better subconscious question, what would it take for that to not be scary? Be an interesting thing to ask yourself. Marianne says, for me, the realization of working smarter, not harder, has made a huge difference in my mindset shifting. Heck yeah. And for context, I know Marianne's been working with me a lot on burnout and things. So that's so important. Like, how are you going to get past that if you feel like you still have to work like uber hard all the time? It's just not going to work. Denise said, I became a mom, then a wife. It was all about my family. Lost myself in the process. Girl, yep. And I think that's why it's for a lot of people somewhere in their 30s or their 40s is when, you know, maybe the kids are old enough that you start realizing that you have completely disconnected from your relationship with like pleasure, hobbies, self-care, whatever the case may be. And I can't tell you how many clients I start working with and it's like, what do you actually enjoy? And they don't even know. It's like they have no idea what they even find pleasurable. So this is part of that reconnection. Reconnecting with abundance is also reconnecting with the things that you enjoy so very much. Bindu agreed. Yep, that's me. Yep, I know that's your story too, Bindu. We've talked also. So yeah, finding yourself again, you know, and instead of that like being something that could be intimidating or what have you, it could be so fun. It's like amazing. I've done all this. I've served all these people for so long, my family, everything else. And now I get to figure out what I like again. You know, do I go back and think about what I liked when I was younger? Do I try some new things? Do I, you know, what do I do? How do I start? And follow your happiness to where it's going to lead you there. Which is also so aligned with what we were talking about earlier with getting into higher vibrations that are going to attract more of what you want. Follow your happiness. Follow your highest excitement. Denise says, I'm uncomfortable with attention and receiving because I've always been the giver. I don't know who I'd be if I didn't struggle. Be fun to learn, wouldn't it? I bet you'd be amazing. I bet you already are. Let's see. Eric said, my boyfriend recently bought me a make your own fruit mask machine. And I immediately got online to see what I could afford to send him. He didn't ask for me to get him anything. He did it because he knows I love my eye masks, so it was just a thoughtful gift. But I couldn't get the guilt out of my mind that I needed to return the appreciation in a material way. And this is a totally different workshop too, but especially with ladies, this happens all the time with sex too, all the time. And whenever I work with people with intimacy and whatever, women will not just like receive. And men in general really want to please us. Like if we would just give them a little bit more instruction and stuff, like we could be just, we're made, like this is feminine energy. And this is so important in abundance, but our feminine energy, our feminine model is receiving. But men and women, we both need receiving energy. We both need receiving energy in order to be abundant. But this comes through so much when I'm doing like intimacy work with people. Became a mom at 15, a wife at 19. So yeah, Denise, like you've been in the throes of like raising people and taking care of people for a while. I'm not sure, how old you are now, but, probably it's been, decades, right? Like, and you've been taking care of people and now you're ready to discover yourself. But the best news about that is that 52. Yeah. Best news about that is that you can do it now. There's no need to give power away to what things were like yesterday, last week, a year ago, a decade ago, when the only place that you can use your power is now, in the present moment, ever. You can't use it in the future where you're future tripping and anxietying and worrying too. You can't use it in the past where everything already happened and there's nothing to change. All you got is right here, right now. So the best news is that you have that and you can make all those incremental shifts and changes and like create a whole new reality. Like, how awesome is it that we get to create our own reality? All right, so I was on N, I think. So let's see. We're going on to E. E is the next letter in money. And that's energy and toxic money. So not all money feels good. Some income sources, some financial ties come with emotional baggage. Okay, this was my example with my car accidents and disability and things like that. Didn't feel good. Didn't feel good at all. Didn't feel good to know, hey, you're getting paid basically to stay in low vibration, to stay sick, to stay injured, and getting better, which is everybody's goal, right? Feel better, be healthy, live a vibrant, wealthy, amazing life means losing something. Even if it just means like losing something small in comparison to what you can create on your own, it's still a vibration, still a thing. Crystal and Rosa in the group shared how they had guilt over receiving money or gifts, kind of like what Erica shared. And that like triggered wounds for them. So clearing toxic money ties, such as believing that money means someone else has less, creates space for aligned abundance. And the next, let's see, and Denise said, I really want to be able to financially help my mom. Yeah, that's an awesome goal. And it's so important to have a why. If all you want is to have more money and you have no idea why or what you would do with it, and you're not connected with like a vision for that abundance, you're going to have an even harder time bringing it in. But, Denise, like in your case, if you're connecting with this vision where, you're helping to take care of your mom and maybe you can picture exactly what that money is supporting for her or how it's making her feel and how it's making you feel to be able to do that. And you're connecting with that vibration on a daily basis, you're going to pull that into your reality so much faster than somebody who's like, I don't know, it would probably just be nice to have more money because I've never been used to that. And gosh, I don't even know what I would do with it anyway if I had it, but it would be nice. They're not going to attract more money. So having a really defined why is so important. I have a whole vision casting replay from a previous workshop that I did last year over in our school community that I highly recommend if you're trying to figure out how to make your visions a reality. Really good for connecting the pieces and connecting the dots there. So then we're moving on to the why in money. This is all about your financial future. So kind of like I was just talking about the vision, if you hesitate to set big financial goals or big ideas of what you would like to do with that money or abundance or receiving in any way, shape, or form, your greater health, your greater relationships, whatever, fear of failure, fear of visibility could very well be blocking you. Iman from our group, and I'm not sure, is Iman here today? I'm looking at my list here. No, I don't see Iman here today. She had shared that she had like guilt and unworthiness around her receiving process. And true abundance comes from believing that wealth is your birthright, not something that you have to suffer or work hard for. So just kind of take a deep moment here to just reflect on that. And where do you notice the most resistance in this money acronym, this money framework? Where are you having the most resistance? I'd love to see that dropped in the chat. Debt. Yeah. And so often, because of what people make debt mean and making it mean that it's bad, they don't accept like the help that costs money that could help them get out of it faster. And they linger and suffer in it longer because they've made taking on more of it mean something awful. And it's energy. Let's see. Wendy said the nestings and savings part. It was, let's see. Sorry, my screen's doing funky things. Yep, the E part of it for Denise and the N part of it for Leah and Marianne. Perfect. Awesome. At least you guys are identifying some patterns. That's awesome. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shift into doing some EFT rounds together. If any of you have done the videos that I have, any of the videos, I got tons of them over in the school community or been on a workshop with me before, or some of you are my clients and you do this with me all the time. You know what to do. And if you've never done this before and you're like, what on earth is EFT tapping? We're just going to be like following the leader here. So with tapping, we are accessing the nervous system, and we are sending signals right to the amygdala, that part of our brain that is in charge of fight or flight, flee, flop, all these things that F us up. And we're calming it down. And that's also helping to lower our cortisol levels significantly, our stress hormones, and allowing us to clear these energetic blockages. Blocked energy is the cause of any dis-ease we have, whether that's physical, emotional, mental, whatever. So when we can get the energy flowing the way that it's intended to, we feel better. And kind of like I was talking before about raising vibrations, as we feel better, better things happen. We're able to get into more of that appreciation and gratitude and attract more of the high vibration things that we want. We got to match the frequency of what we want to receive and create. So through these tapping rounds, we are going to clear blocks, release some deep emotional patterns. We're going to open up to receiving, and we're going to shift some energy around our money relationship. Our financial reality isn't shaped by like just strategy or effort. It's shaped so largely by our subconscious beliefs, by our emotional patterns, and our nervous system programming. Most of our money blocks are stored not just in our minds, but in our bodies, in our nervous systems. And this means that no matter how much we try to think positively or change habits, if we don't address the subconscious blocks at the root, they will continue to control the financial outcomes, even if we want something different. Because our brain does not care about what we want. Brain does not care about our goals. Brain just keeps us alive, okay? And it knows that we're alive already. So whatever we've been doing must be good enough. And something new, something different, something uncommon, that's scary to the brain, and it will not accept it. So we have to change what's underlying that so that we can send the right messages to the brain that, hey, this is what we want, and this is what we're going to do, and it is safe, and we're going to make it happen. So a lot of us are carrying those like hidden fears that we inherited from childhood, past experiences, social conditioning. Last month's workshop, if any of you missed it, was all about generational trauma and inherited beliefs. So if that feels like something that is close to your heart with what you're dealing with, highly recommend checking out that replay while it's still up in the community. If you want to make more money, like feel financially secure, receive with ease, but your subconscious believes that more money will make people judge or reject you, or that you're going to have to work harder than ever and lose freedom, or that you don't truly deserve wealth, then your nervous system will actively resist financial success. Because at a psychological level, at a physiological level, it doesn't feel safe. Okay, so that's why we're about to implement some of this EFT tapping to bring those subconscious fears into conscious awareness, reduce the stress response tied to them, and rewire the nervous system so that abundance feels safe and natural. Okay, and the other thing is that we all have these hidden agendas that we're not always aware of, these competing commitments in our subconscious. These are the subconscious blocks that keep us in financial struggle, even when we consciously desire more abundance. Like we discussed before, a lot of people have, guilt over debt, have self-sabotage patterns, have fears about stepping into their full earning power and what that might change in their life. So we're going to rewire that relationship with abundance and use this powerful mind-body tool to release some of these blocks, these negative beliefs, and these patterns that have been keeping you stuck. What we're going to be doing is tapping on meridian points, these points that are known for releasing these blockages. And while we're tapping on these points, which I'll tap on the point and say something, you'll tap on the same point, say the thing back. We're sending that signal to the nervous system, to the amygdala. We're disrupting old patterns. And then we're rewiring for abundance. And why is this so important? Because most of us have been conditioned through family, society, and those past experiences to believe that money is scarce, that it's hard to earn, that we have to struggle to deserve it. And those don't just sit in the conscious mind. They're really, really deep. And they keep us running in the same financial survival mode. Keep running those same programs and those stories over and over again, no matter how much we try to shift. So, I've worked with plenty of clients who grew up with that whole, like, we can't afford that. And as adults, they felt anxiety every time they spent money. They were afraid they'd run out. And then through tapping, through hypnotherapy, we released those deep-rooted fears so that they could begin trusting their financial flow, feeling safe, making investments in themselves. I've worked with people who felt guilty about receiving money because they believed it meant someone else had less. So tapping can really help you to realize that money isn't a fixed resource, that there's always more than enough to go around. And I've worked with plenty of people who've struggled to charge what they were worth due to subconscious fears, procrastination, being seen as greedy or selfish. And these kind of modalities help them shift that energy so that they could confidently charge their worth, raise their rates without guilt, without resistance. And all of those things can be broken through. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a round of tapping on releasing money blocks and financial trauma. So I'd love to get another number, kind of like we did at the beginning of this, 0 to 10. How much fear, stress, or resistance do you feel when you think about money and your ability to receive it? Is what I want to know. So with 0 being no fear, no stress, and 10 being overwhelming fear and stress.
How do you feel about that? Do you think we can work towards that? Right? The more you're able to do that, the more you're going to get.
Camille, can you mute? Thanks.
Okay. Let's just look at an example. Let's say
Camille, are you able to mute that person? Okay. All right. So sorry. Numbers in the chat, please. Let's see. I'll pop over here. I need to catch up on some things here too. Because Sarah said, I don't know where this applies, but I struggle with the fact that I know money is unlimited, and that it's my birthright, but I guess I haven't seen it yet. So believing is the hard part. Yeah, but believing is going to precede the reality. If you can't believe it, you can't receive it. Mine seems to be stuck in fight or flight. Okay, yes to all three of those. Bindu says, I feel guilty when I spend money for myself. Okay, Denise said same. All right. And then we're getting into the ratings here for this round. So we've got 8s, 7s, 9, 6. All right. The question, if it was the question about the rating, I was looking for on a scale of 0 to 10, how much fear, stress, or resistance do you feel when you think about money and your ability to receive it? 0 being none, 10 being a lot. So that's what we're rating. And then we are going, is there anything in particular that comes up for any of you around that? If there is like any phrases or things about that. Let's see. Erica says maybe a 5. I feel like I've been able to make money in the past, but I didn't like the way I was making it. That's good to at least realize that and move into something else. So I've changed how I'm making it and feeling fulfilled while doing it. Glad to hear that. That's awesome. And then Sarah said probably a 5 or 6. Perfect. Cool. So what we're going to do is we are going to start this tapping round. I'm going to say a phrase. You're going to say it back. And I highly recommend, I know you guys are all muted. Say it out loud. Say it with emphasis. The more you can speak to your actual block, and I mean, because you're muted, you can also change the words. If you don't like what I'm saying and something feels more precise, say something a little bit different. That's how you can really make this work for you. And we're going to kind of go through this round together, and then we're going to reevaluate that question that we just evaluated right now. I'm going to grab a sip of my tea real quick, and we're going to get off to the races here. All right. Starting on the side of the hand, this is the karate chop point. And you know what? Would somebody unmute and mirror me? Because otherwise I never know my pace. Can I get a volunteer that would just be willing to mirror me?
I'll do it.
All right, Wendy, perfect. Here we go. Even though I've struggled with money and feel stuck in scarcity.
Even though I've struggled with money and feel stuck in scarcity.
I deeply love and accept myself.
I deeply love and accept myself.
Even though I fear money won't come easily.
Even though I fear money won't come easily.
And that I'll always be just getting by.
And that I'll always just be getting by.
I choose to believe abundance is possible for me.
I choose to believe that abundance is possible for me.
Even though I've inherited financial fears from my family.
Even though I've inherited financial fears from my family.
I now recognize I have the power to create a new reality.
I now recognize that I have the power to create a new reality.
All right, we're going to start going through the other points starting at the top of the head now. This fear of never having enough.
This fear of never having enough.
I heard we can't afford it so many times growing up.
I heard we can't afford it growing up so many times.
Perfect. Part of me still believes I have to struggle.
Part of me still believes I have to struggle.
I see money come and go, but I never feel safe with it.
I see money come and go, but I never feel safe with it.
What would it take to release these old money stories?
What would it take to release these old money stories?
What if struggling isn't the only way?
What if struggling isn't the only way?
What if money isn't something I have to chase?
What if money isn't something I have to chase?
It makes me wonder if abundance has been trying to reach me all along.
Makes me wonder if abundance has been trying to chase me all along.
Yeah. I've been conditioned that money is hard to get.
I've been conditioned that money is hard to get.
What if that was just someone else's story?
What if that was just someone else's story?
What if money could flow to me in easier ways?
What if money could flow to me in easier ways?
And receiving could be as natural as breathing.
And receiving could be as natural as breathing.
What would it take for me to allow abundance in?
What would it take for me to allow abundance in?
Without guilt.
Without guilt.
What if my past struggles weren't proof that I'm failing?
What if my past struggles weren't proof that I was failing?
But rather proof that I've been playing by the wrong rules?
But rather proof that I've been playing by the wrong rules.
Who would I be if I fully believed?
Who would I be if I fully believed
In my ability to receive and be abundant?
in my ability to receive and be abundant?
My old story is no fun.
My old story is no fun.
And I'm so ready to rewrite my financial story.
And I'm so ready to rewrite my financial story.
If money was my lover, it would think I was a major downer.
If money was my lover, it would say I'm a major downer.
I'm choosing to look at money differently.
I'm choosing to look at money differently.
Releasing the fear that there's never enough.
Releasing the fears that there's never enough.
That fear has never multiplied my abundance.
I'm sorry.
That fear has never multiplied my abundance.
That fear has never multiplied my abundance.
I'm worthy of financial peace and ease.
I am worthy of financial peace and ease.
And I welcome new opportunities and perspectives.
And I welcome new opportunities and perspectives.
For flow and expansion.
For flow and expansion.
What would it take for money to be something I enjoy instead of fear?
What would it take for money to be something that I enjoy, not fear?
Choosing to align with the frequency of abundance.
Choosing to align with the frequency of abundance.
Allowing myself to feel safe with money.
Allowing myself to feel safe with money.
Letting go of any thoughts or beliefs that I don't have enough.
Letting go of any thoughts or beliefs that I don't and won't have enough.
So that I can trust that abundance flows to me freely.
So that I can trust that abundance flows to me freely.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Wendy. That was great. Take a nice deep breath. I often feel like kind of stretching after a round of EFT. If you're yawning, that's perfect. Oh, that's perfect. I just caught you doing that too, Sarah. Was that a yawn? I will celebrate your yawn. There's nobody that'll be more excited to ever see you yawn than EFT practitioner, because when we yawn, we release energetic blockages. So it's never rude or anything else. If you're doing a round, it's like we've accomplished, mission accomplished. Things are moving, and that's wonderful. So now I want to check in. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's check in on the numbers now. Where does that number sit for you again? Let me ask you the question again so that you can reevaluate it. The question that I asked before was 0 to 10. How much fear, stress, or resistance do you feel when you think about money and your ability to receive it? And I need y'all to recognize that this is about the present moment right now. This does not mean the numbers in your bank account changed. It does not mean the credit card bill changed. It does not mean any of that changed. It's your energy that's shifting. So where do you feel now? Let's see. Oh, we got some big shifts, guys. I don't see the before and after numbers. I should probably ask things. You know what? Next round, if you can put in your before and your after number at the end, that'll really help, because I don't feel like scanning up and down. But I can tell that these numbers are way lower, because at the beginning I saw a lot of like 10, 9, 8s to 6s. And now I'm seeing 5. I see. Oh, thank you, Amelia. You did that from a 7 to 5. Bindu's at a 5 now. Sarah's at a 0. Erica's at a 0. Freaking fabulous. Denise is at a 4. Leah's at a 5. Kim's at a 3. Super. Bindu says, just felt a surge of energy to make a difficult decision. Ooh, I'd love to hear more about that. If you want to talk about it in the Q&A, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you want to send me a message, that would be fantastic. And if you don't want to share it all, that's cool too. I'm just rooting for you in whatever that decision was, and you making it is a big deal. Erica from a 5 to a 0. Denise went from a 9 to a 4. Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing in that way. That was definitely helpful. Marianne before 6, after 3. Also interrupted by my son. Hey, you know what? You can still make shifts. That's just proof that you still lowered your number even with a disruption. No big thing. Great. So did anything come up for you guys during that? Were there any like moments of consciousness, aha type things, stuff that like resonated where you were like kind of like, oh crap, that's what I've been thinking, or that's the shift that I needed? If there was, feel free to drop it in the chat. If not, that's fine too. All right. And we'll move on to the next one. Okay. Wendy said, in awareness, there are other possibilities for greater life and living. Hell yeah. Just wanting to nap now. Leah said, that's cool. I mean, you know what? And if I didn't mention this before, and I don't think I did, drink water. Make sure you are drinking, because energy likes to move through liquid. It's better that way. If you're dehydrated, you can't move as much. Hydration is really helpful. And if you have the ability to like lay down and take a little nap after this, then indulge, because it'll probably be a really good one. And let's see. Kim says, I felt very tingly and excited. Cool. Awesome. Let's go into the next round. I've got 2 more I'd like to do, and I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. And, you know, I always jam these so full that it's really hard to fit everything into 90 minutes. You'd think I'd know by now, but, you know, just like I was talking about people over delivering, I tend to do that still too. So, you know, guilty, but hopefully it's helping you guys. That's what it's all about. I geek out on these and getting to meet you guys and spend time together and help. So next I want to reframe debt, because that's obviously something that a lot of people are dealing with. And again, you can think about this. I mean, this can be debt in relationship too, kind of like Erica's example about feeling like, you know, there was almost like a debt when she was given a gift of like, now I've got to return something. That kind of thing too. Let's see. Erica said, no aha moments yet. They usually happen for me later. That's common too. Like once, because this isn't like we just finished the work and the work is done. The cool thing about EFT is, it says, feels like my life gets put together like a puzzle is getting completed. Yeah, it's a great analogy. A lot of times, especially with my clients, and that's why we kind of have an open chat when we're working together, is that those little moments of consciousness will hit you at the darndest times. And sometimes it's not until you have an ability to kind of like test the work in the real world, and you know, like the next time you have to like name your price, or the next time you go to pay the credit card bill and it doesn't feel so like icky or whatever else, that you're like, oh shit, this actually is like, I'm changing and my energy is changing, and the whole relationship with all of this is changing, and that's what needs to change in order for it to change. So sometimes it's not until you get into that kind of real world testing of these things that we're working on that you notice like, wow, that was more powerful than I realized it was. And that's cool. That's fine. Let's work into clearing the debt guilt and the self-sabotage and see where that takes us. So debt at its core is neutral. Kind of like I mentioned before, we assign meaning to things. So it's a simple financial transaction. It's an exchange of resources. But as humans, we don't experience we don't experience debt neutrally. We assign it as this emotional weight, this guilt, this self-judgment. We tell ourselves that debt is a sign of failure, not enough, irresponsibility, something that we must, pay for in more ways than one. So many people, clients, community members like you guys, whatever, feel shame, feel like fear, even like punishment attached to their debt, believing that it is proof that they're not good with money or they don't deserve abundance. But what if all of that wasn't true? What if there's no actual truth to that? Debt often unconsciously connects us to past choices. Okay, relationships, a sense of belonging. If we were raised with financial struggle, then accumulating debt may feel familiar to us. It may feel like a way to stay connected to our past and our family's experiences. Clearing debt guilt isn't just about finances, okay? It's about releasing old emotional attachments and stepping into like new self-trust, new financial expansion. I love the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace T. Wattles. He talks about how you have to get rid of the thought of competition, that you're here to create, not to compete for what is already created. Okay. When we feel guilty about debt, we unconsciously stay in competition with our past selves. Okay. Believing that we have to fix financial mistakes before we can move forward. Okay. True wealth is not about erasing the past. It's about shifting into a new way of thinking and operating. So if we hold on to that guilt, we reinforce the cycle of self-sabotage, we reinforce the avoidance, we reinforce the scarcity. When we release the emotional charge around debt, we free ourselves to use money as a tool for expansion rather than a burden that defines us. Okay? Instead of seeing debt as a prison, we can choose to see it as a past investment, a stepping stone, more importantly, like something that does not dictate our future. And that speaks about anything in our past, honestly. So clearing the emotional baggage around debt is not about ignoring financial responsibility. It's about empowering ourselves to make choices from a place of clarity, confidence, and abundance rather than fear and shame. Super duper important. The moment we stop punishing ourselves, we open the door for financial flow, freedom, and new opportunities to come in, instead of keeping ourselves in that. So the question for this round, guys, is a scale of 1 to 0 to 10 kind of thing too. How much shame, guilt, or frustration do you feel when you think about debt or financial mistakes? 0 is no guilt, 10 is overwhelming guilt. We've got 8s and 9s and 10s, and well, I know I picked an important subject. That's good. All right. It's hitting hard. All right. Perfect. Let's dive into this one. Is there anybody else that would like to mirror me this time? Or otherwise, I'll call upon Wendy to help me again. But if somebody else wants to do it, I'm happy to honor whoever else wants to jump in. Just unmute yourself and say me. Looks like it's you again, Wendy. So, if you don't mind, I would love it if you would help me keep my pace. So, all right. Side of the hand, deep breath, everybody. Bring all that yucky feelings that you have about debt front and center if they're not there already. Even though I feel guilty about my debt.
Even though I feel guilty about my debt.
And choices that led to it.
And the choices that led to it.
I want to deeply and completely accept myself.
I want to deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I sabotage my financial success.
Even though I sabotage my financial success.
And make money harder than it needs to be.
And make money harder than it used to be.
Yeah. I'm open to healing this pattern.
I am open to healing this pattern.
Even though I've carried shame about my debt.
Even though I have carried shame about my debt.
And these money mistakes.
And made money mistakes.
I choose to release the weight.
I choose to release the weight.
And welcome a new relationship with abundance.
And welcome a new relationship with abundance.
Heading to the top of the head. Debt feels like a heavy chain.
Debt feels like a heavy chain.
I feel so guilty about my financial mistakes.
I feel so guilty about my financial mistakes.
Feels like I will never get ahead.
It feels like I'll never get ahead.
I keep repeating old patterns.
Keep repeating old patterns.
Even when I try to change.
Even when I try to change. Even when I've thought I've changed.
Yeah, good. What would it take to let go of this shame?
What would it take to let go of this shame?
What if my debt didn't define me?
What if my debt didn't define me?
Maybe debt is just a moment in time, not a life sentence.
Maybe debt is just a moment in time and not a life sentence.
I wonder what would happen if I could forgive myself.
I wonder what would happen if I could forgive myself.
Opening up to the idea that debt is part of my learning.
Opening up to the idea that debt is actually a part of my learning.
Just a lesson sent to me from the universe.
Just a lesson sent to me from the universe.
To see how ready I am for financial abundance.
To see how ready I am for financial abundance.
What would it take for me to feel neutral about money instead of guilty?
What does it take for me to feel neutral? I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
What would it take for me to feel neutral about money?
What would it take for me to feel neutral about money?
Instead of guilty.
Oh, instead of guilty.
Mm-hmm. What if I believed that I'm not my financial past?
What if I believe that I'm not my financial past?
And that I don't have to keep punishing myself for old choices?
That I don't have to keep punishing myself for old choices?
Could I allow myself to release these outdated paradigms?
I allow myself to release outdated paradigms.
This burden of guilt?
This burden of guilt.
These unhelpful stories?
These unhelpful stories.
What if I allowed financial flow instead of resistance?
What if I allowed financial flow instead of resistance?
Opening up to new ways of handling money.
Opening up to handling new ways. No, opening up to new ways of handling money.
You got it. And recognizing that that is enough.
And recognizing that this is enough.
I am capable of financial freedom.
And that I am capable of financial freedom.
All right, take another nice deep breath, guys. Good job. Where do you feel like you are now? Oh, I see some good yawns. Yay. 0 to 10. How much guilt, shame, or frustration do you feel when you think about debt or financial mistakes? And if you remember your number from before, that's super helpful, like we talked about before. Let's see. Yep. Moving. 8 to a 5, 8 to a 6, 9 to a 5, 10 to an 8, 9, before a 9, now a 5, 10 to a 5, 9 to a 5. That's awesome. A lot of like either cutting a third or half out of the way, and that's big. I did a shorter round than I planned there because I know we're getting tighter on time, so probably could have released a little bit more, but I want to make sure that we have time for all the things that we're looking to do here. Let's see. If anything came up in specific around that round for you guys, feel free to drop it in the chat. The last thing that I want to do a round of tapping on before we open up for some Q&A is about feminine magnetism being the key to abundance. one of the subconscious blocks to wealth isn't just about earning money, it's about receiving it. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that success only comes through hard work, through sacrifice, through struggle. If money flows in too easily, we question if we truly earned it. We see this a lot, especially I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs kind of name their rates for services. And then they go around thinking, oh, well, somebody charges, just a little bit for the same thing. Somebody charges way more for the same thing. How do I get to claim, my price or whatever? And then gotta add more, gotta do more, gotta be more, if I'm gonna raise my prices or whatever, it can't just be that like you're really good at what you do. And people you think about things like this, that people are like so happy. This came up on another call with my clients a couple of weeks ago. One of my clients is becoming a travel agent. And it's kind of this passion. She, like we were talking about earlier, I think it was Denise, about kind of like, I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't know my purpose and I want this fulfillment and everything. This particular client was in that place where that's actually the reason that she came to work with me, because she wanted to figure out her purpose and enjoy things. She's raised 6 or 7 kids, happily married, everything's kind of taken care of, but she just wants to enjoy her life and feel like she's doing something that's about her and that she's, creating some income, even though it's not necessary in her family's position. She wants something to call her own. And so she's stepping into this travel agent experience, but then she's kind of feeling like, oh, I don't know. I mean, she's kind of just good at doing that sort of thing. So it's like, how can I charge for it and everything else? Every one of us on the call was like, I would love it if you would make it easier for me to like book this trip. Or, another client of mine was getting ready to go to Singapore, and she's like, I'm totally going to hire somebody to map this out for me and to make it happen. I don't want to do that. That's such a service. It's so important. And like just realizing, just being surrounded by people that's like, yeah, we would all pay for that. We wouldn't expect to receive that for free. And it would make our lives easier, make our lives better. And like people are ready and willing to pay for things that make their lives easier and better. So abundance isn't about your effort. It's about like your willingness to receive. Money, and money loves a relaxed person. It really does. It's much more attracted to somebody who's relaxed than somebody that's uptight. Kind of back to the whole analogy of it like being like a lover. Let me see. Sarah said, just came in my head right now about prices. If you're worried about raising your prices and that people who undervalue your work won't accept it, you don't actually want those people as a client. Yeah, very true. Good realization. Raise them and let those people go. Exactly. Because just like abundance is unlimited, so are potential clients and opportunities to work with people. And it's one of the hardest things about growing as an entrepreneur that, there comes times when you either raise your prices or you raise your prices and you do less. And you feel weird about it because it's like, oh, well, I was charging $5,000 to do 24 things for my clients 5 years ago. Now I charge $5,000 and I do 6 things for my clients. Like whatever that is. But guess what? You got really good at doing those 6 things. And people actually don't want all the extra bells and whistles. They want the solution that they want customized for them. And that's more valuable than giving people a whole bunch of shit they don't want. So, honor people's time. It's their most valuable asset. So yeah. Think about it. Have you ever felt like uncomfortable when somebody gave you a gift, paid for your meal, that kind of thing, like we talked about before? This is about the ability to receive. This is about your feminine magnetism. So let's do a tapping round on this one. We'll open up for Q&A and get on our way and enjoy our weekends. So 0 to 10, how resistant or uncomfortable do you feel when receiving money, help, gifts, success without, quote unquote, earning it? 0 would be like, I fully trust and welcome receiving. 10 would be, I feel like extremely uncomfortable, extremely unworthy receiving without hard effort or reciprocity. All right, got those numbers coming in. Not even gonna bother with them a whole lot right now because we're gonna do that and we're gonna see where the after numbers are. But perfect, glad you guys are all rating that. It's really important. Okay. Body some feminine magnetism here. Wendy, can I get you again to help me out on this round? Thanks. All right. Deep breath, everybody. Oh, we're moving so much energy. I can feel it. Even though I feel like I have to work hard for everything I receive.
Even though I feel I have to work hard for everything I receive.
I want to deeply and completely accept myself.
I want to deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though parts of me resist receiving.
Even though parts of me resist receiving.
I choose to believe that I am worthy of ease and flow.
I choose to believe that I'm worthy of ease and flow.
And even though I feel guilty and unworthy.
And even though I feel guilty and unworthy.
When abundance comes easily.
When abundance comes easily.
I now allow myself to welcome it with gratitude.
I now allow myself to welcome it with gratitude.
Top of the head. I've always thought you have to work hard for everything.
I've always thought you have to work hard for everything.
Success is supposed to come through struggle, right?
Success is supposed to come through struggle, right?
And if it comes too easily, it means I don't deserve it.
And if it comes too easily, I don't deserve it.
I feel guilty when things come to me effortlessly.
I feel guilty when things come to me effortlessly.
What if I allowed myself to receive without guilt?
What if I allowed myself to receive without guilt?
What if receiving was just as natural as giving?
What if receiving was just as natural as giving?
I wonder if money has been trying to come to me all along.
I wonder if money has been trying to come to me all along.
And I've just refused to receive it.
And I've just refused to receive it.
What would change if I started allowing more abundance?
What would change if I started allowing more abundance?
And accepted that I am allowed to receive.
And accepted that I'm allowed to receive.
The universe doesn't require me to suffer.
The universe doesn't require me to suffer.
Or give equally in return.
Or give equally in return.
In order to be worthy.
In order to be worthy.
What if receiving was a skill I could practice?
I'm sorry. What if receiving
was a skill I could practice?
Was a skill I could actually practice.
Mm-hmm. I see other people receive with ease.
I see other people receive with ease.
Why not me?
Why not me?
If I could just let go of the guilt, I could say yes.
If I could just let go of the guilt, I could say yes.
And what if that was the ultimate act of self-love?
My goodness, what if that is the ultimate act of self-love?
I am shifting into alignment.
I am shifting into alignment.
With effortless receiving.
With effortless receiving.
I trust that what is meant for me is already on the way.
I trust that whatever is meant for me is on the way.
It is safe for me to receive.
It is safe for me to receive.
And I am expanding my capacity to do so a little bit every day.
And I am expanding my capacity to do so a little every day.
And welcoming all forms of abundance with open arms.
And welcoming all forms of abundance with open arms.
Receiving with gratitude, ease, and confidence.
Receiving with gratitude, ease, and happiness.
Perfect. All right. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose, everybody. Exhale out through your mouth. I am going to stretch. Oh, Sarah, I caught that yawn on the line about self-love, and that tells me that there's something to look at there for you. So just bringing that to awareness, because it's never a lie when the body speaks up about things like that. All right, beautiful. Let's see where we are now.
I yawned throughout that whole one.
Yeah, I might not have caught them all because I was looking all over the place, but I did catch that one, and I was like, there's something to look at there. So be on the lookout. Great job, everybody. Where are your numbers now? Let's see. Sarah said, I love receiving gifts or money, but I'm terrible at receiving help. Yep. Marianne, was it a 7? Okay, so Marianne was saying a few months ago she would have been at a higher number rating this, and she said a lower number just even to begin with now. That's great. Okay, so Wendy went from 8 to a 3, 9 to a 4 for Denise, 8 to a 5 for Bindu, 8 to a 4, Leah, Marianne, 7 to 3, Erica, 8 to 4, Kim, 5. Great. Those are awesome shifts, guys. That is really super. So your nervous system has just undergone a powerful transformation. Don't underestimate it, okay? It's kind of like we talked about earlier about celebrating the wins. Celebrate this win. Don't go, oh, nothing's changed and it's still the same reality I had before. Like, there's no room for that shit if you want to be abundant. Like, just recognize big shifts are happening. Let's see, is it common for tummy ache with this? We can talk about that in a second. It may be stirring up some other things. Not common, no, but depending on like where you carry your feelings. If you're somebody who normally, like when you get a little bit uneasy, end up kind of like feeling it in the solar plexus or the gut, this may be challenging some of your gut feelings, and that could result in a tummy ache. The mind and the body have a lot of connections. So nervous system has undergone a powerful transformation. We've acknowledged fears, limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging patterns. We've sent some safety signals to your brain. We've regulated stress response, and we're like rewiring that subconscious programming. So the amygdala has been kind of calmed down, that fight or flight response, and we've kind of flooded the body with better feelings of safety and acceptance and things like that. So your subconscious mind has now kind of received a new set of instructions, ones that tell it that abundance is safe, receiving is natural, financial ease is possible. That does not mean that this is one and done work, guys. This is like just kind of the tip of the iceberg for a lot of you, but it's like a layer. We've peeled back a layer, okay? The energy field is shifting, and tapping helps to clear those disruptions in your body's electromagnetic system, allowing that energy to flow freely instead of being trapped in old thought loops, old stories, scarcity, fear, lack, all of that stuff. So that's why a lot of times you'll tend to feel lighter, calmer, sleepy, yawning, stretchy, kind of more open to abundance after doing something like this, because we're literally like rewiring the emotional and energetic relationships. So I would love to do some Q&A, but before I do that, I want to share with you something that I can do for all of you. Camille, you might have to go ahead in the slides. I want to share. I've got a bonus for all of you, and I want to make sure that if some of you have to go because it's 1:30, that you don't miss this bonus because you may want to take advantage of it. Are you able to share, Camille? I'm offering for people on this call a free abundance audit session. So now that you've experienced these shifts in your relationship with receiving, the question kind of is like, well, what's next, right? So first, I want to make sure that you're following me on Instagram if you're not already. Camille, if you can put up that slide. I know we're doing things a little out of order, but we'll get there. There's my handle on Instagram. If you're not already following me over there, that's kind of where I post content that you'd probably resonate with. And you can always hit me up in the DMs over there. I believe most of you are already in school, but if anybody's watching this replay, especially that's not, you can join me over in school. The instructions are there on the slide for how to find the group if you're not already in there. If you are in there, when the replay is available later, you guys, since you were registered, will get like an email right away that'll give you the replay if you want it. And then later on, I'll get that in school for other people. So that will go up there. The real transformation starts and continues when you begin taking consistent action to rewire your subconscious patterns and create that lasting flow and really keep magnifying the abundance. So that's why I'm offering an abundance audit session. So this is going to be one-on-one private, highly focused session where we're going to locate what's holding you back from receiving and what needs to shift so that you can step into that next level abundance with clarity and confidence. So what will happen in this, what we're going to do is we're going to pinpoint your number one hidden block to receiving. And whether that's, self-sabotage, fear of outshining people, guilt, debt, resistance to charging what you're worth, we'll uncover what's keeping you stuck. And then we will identify patterns that maybe you haven't seen yet. Are you having trouble with the slides, Camille? There we go. Okay. We're going to identify the patterns that you're maybe not seeing. Walk away with that eye-opening clarity on how your subconscious has been influencing your financial reality and what to do about it. And then we will also kind of map out next personal steps, things that might work for you moving forward, create kind of an aligned action plan based on your specific challenges and goals as far as moving forward. So this is for you if you are, something's blocking you from receiving more, you're not sure what it is, or you know what it is and you're like, I don't know how to shift it. I don't know how to get out of this feeling that, it's just never going to happen for me. And connect with abundance. Or if you've already been doing a lot of mindset work and you're still not seeing the ease and the flow that you want. And if you're ready for clear next steps, ready to shift your energy, ready to take things to the next level and take action that's really going to move the needle on your reality with abundance. So you can book this by going to gamechangingconversation.com and just put in the notes there, because that's just it's kind of like my regular calendar there. Just put in the notes abundance audit so that I know it's for this. I only have a certain amount of these that I'll do before I take this bonus down. And we'll uncover what's been keeping you stuck and get you some clarity on what you need to break through to the next level and take things to the next step. So I just want to make sure you guys know that that's available to you, that bonus to spend a little time with me, just kind of reviewing what's going on and learning what might help you specifically, because I know I won't have time to address that as deeply here in Q&A, but yeah, so go ahead, snag a spot for yourself, and I will look forward to hopping on a call with you. All right, now we can jump into a little Q&A, hot seat coaching, whatever you guys need. I'm happy to, if you guys want to just put a 1 in the chat if you have a question or something, and I can call on you and we can talk about it. Let's see. The site for the abundance call is gamechangingconversation.com. I will put it. In fact, Camille, will you just put that in the chat for everybody? That would be super helpful. Although I just did it there. There it is. So perfect. We both put it in there. All right. All right. Who has questions, or who can I provide a little bit of coaching for? Let's see. Erica's got a 1 down here. What can I do for you, Miss Erica?
Well, I yawned during that last round under the eye when we were talking about guilt. So I guess I just want to know, maybe if you can put the phrase in the chat or just tell me so I can write it down so I can reevaluate that myself later on.
I don't, we'd have to look at the replay, I guess.
Okay.
I don't,
you were in the moment?
Yeah. I feel in the last one, it's maybe what would it take for me to release guilt, or what, and an open to receiving or something like that, maybe? We can definitely look at the replay and find and pinpoint where we talked about guilt and see what phrase resonated with you. For sure. Yeah. Is there anything that typically, oh, thanks for being here, Bindu. Bindu says she's got to go. Happy to see you on a call. Was there anything about guilt that felt relevant for you or that comes up often?
I don't know. I think for some reason I'm just getting kind of images and just things going on that resonate or go back to my grandmother. She was left quite a bit of money from my grandfather's passing.
Okay.
And for some reason it's always that scenario I get in my mind about we gotta make face or keep up with what she wants from us in a way. I don't even know how to put that into words, I guess.
How does that relate to the money? Does it relate to the money that she inherited? Is there a relation there?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Is there a relation to the money that she inherited from your grandfather's passing to you feeling like you have to like achieve at a certain level or show up at a certain level?
I think so, maybe. I have definitely been the black sheep of my family. So there's been comments before that I'm not in the will and different things like that when I'm the only grandchild that even met my grandfather or really knew him, or even had a relationship with him. I'm the oldest grandchild in that, I am the oldest grandchild. So it just, I don't know, maybe there's a little guilt with that for being the black sheep and not living up to my family's expectations in that way, and always feeling like I have to be who they want me to be. I have to, like when I was younger, I would have to wear dresses to church and different things like that. And I'm not that person.
Is there a feeling like you need to conform to a certain thing because being in the will is important?
I don't know if being in the will is really that important to me. Like I said, I'm the only grandchild that knew my grandfather. So it was a blessing for me to know him. He was a great guy. To me, I don't know the horror stories that my dad and aunt know, but I mean, I guess in a way it is important because I have struggled with money. So I know that would help out when or if that happens. But I know that's not happening tomorrow. She's, even though she is in her 80s, like I'm not expecting that to happen today, this year or anything. Like I'm expecting it to happen when it's time for it to happen. So that's never been something in the back of my mind where I'm like, well, if she's gone, then I get the money,
Right.
Which I don't want that. Like,
I didn't know
I
if
don't
like
want her to be gone just so I can get money.
Yeah, I didn't know if subconsciously like you were feeling performative about like needing to show up in a certain way or feeling guilty about that. Like sometimes we can get connected to thinking like the only way to make money is like, especially when people are like super down. It's like, oh, it's got to be like a lawsuit or it's got to be this or somebody's got to die or whatever. But I don't think that's what you're saying. So, yeah. So, but there's like guilt around that.
Yeah, it's guilt. I think it's guilt around not being the granddaughter, because I'm the only granddaughter as well. The granddaughter that they wanted me to be, the frilly, dressy, goes to church every Sunday and is barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen kind of person, because that's just not who I am. I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen, but not in that way.
Yeah. So it sounds like this is, and I'm happy to answer it. Seems like almost like a separate thing from like the abundance sort of thing. And it's more like emotional blocks around like family dynamics and belonging, maybe. Okay. Even though like you say, you don't really know if you care about like the money, the will, that kind of stuff. The fact that you feel like a sense of guilt might also be a feeling of like exclusion and not belonging. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. And there could be like a subconscious charge there. So yeah, I would just, and also like there could be, and again, I haven't gone very deep into the situation or what's there, but we did talk about like receiving things that you don't feel like you've earned during this. And so that could also connect into the guilt that you're feeling in kind of a strange way. Yeah. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but, yeah, there's probably, it has probably more to do with the belonging and stuff, feeling like you're a black sheep kind of thing and feeling separate. And that can also make you feel separate from abundance, because even if like you don't care about the will or the money or whatever later, there's still a separation. It's like, my tribe of origin has decided that I'm not part of what they're doing, basically. So yeah, it's kind of like maybe some EFT tapping on like, even though I don't feel like I belong, or I don't feel like I'm understood, or I don't feel like I'm allowed to be me. It's not safe to be me. I love accept and forgive myself.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of that kind of stuff. So that's what I would say there. Did you have any other questions or things that I could address?
No, just really wanted to know what was said there so I could dive into it, but I think you definitely helped cover it.
Yeah.
I definitely do feel like that guilt of not being there, not hanging out with her after church, because that was always something that we would do as kids, is just go to dinner or lunch after church. And that was part of it, growing up. So there's probably some guilt around that because I haven't done that since I've become an adult.
Yeah, there's probably some good inner child work to do there for that version of you that didn't get to express herself the way that she wanted to, and now as an adult isn't feeling like she got to fit in or does fit in or whatever else. And even though like you're an adult now and you probably don't care a whole lot exactly what they think of you, there's always some charge, it seems, when family dynamics come into it, because that's like our original like safety net. Like without people to raise us when we were little, like we would have died. And so anything that we did that made us different from that group or got us cast out could have been a threat to our life. And it's not that severe now, but it still shows up. So thank you for everybody that's saying they got to run and they've been here. I appreciate you being here. Kim, Valerie, Sarah, everybody, thank you so much for attending. Anybody else have any questions that I can address before we wrap up the workshop? Any other? Let's see. Let's see. Am I saying your name right? Is it Ayam? If you can.
It's actually just Tanika. It's I am in front of it, but my name is Tanika. So it's I am Tanika.
Thank you. Oh, I'm gonna laugh at myself now. Thank you, Tanika. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely generational debt wounds for sure. So, and I don't know if I know you hopped on a little bit later in the call. I did a workshop. Are you in the school community, Tanika?
I am on school. I need to see if I actually joined your school already. What is your name on school? I'm going to it.
The community is called Becoming More Me. I'll drop in the link right here in the chat. That will take you right to the group. If you're already in the group, you'll land on like the community feed. If you haven't joined yet, it'll take you to the join button.
Yes.
Where you can join.
I did. I just clicked on classroom and you have one says magnetic connections. Yes.
That's not, if you, gosh, where's the one? I think it's closer to the bottom. Let me pull up my, my school account so I can give you advice there. But, what will help you even more than whatever I can say right now is, okay, in the classroom, there is down at the bottom, like if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the classroom, you'll see break the cycle, open your heart.
Yes, I see it.
That is all about generational trauma and those kind of cycles. So that workshop,
check that out.
Yeah, and there's some great EFT tapping. There's I think we did a hypnotic visualization during that, and a lot of learning and coaching there. But what is your experience there that you feel like you're dealing with that?
I say that just because it seems like the majority of the people versus a lot are kind of in that struggle mode. I know we grew up in the hood, in the ghetto, around drugs and things like that. My mother and father both got on alcohol and drugs. They passed away early. And it's just kind of something I've wondered with coming from both of my sides, where no one really was just financially overly abundant. It was just they coast and just did okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we definitely inherit that, and those belief systems, those stories that get passed down. And then the way that, kind of like when Eric and I were just talking about the family stuff, it's, you'll relate to that because it's part of you, but it's more than that. Just through the stories. It's part of you genetically. It's part of your nervous system. It's part of, I don't know how things were for you in utero, or how things were with your mom, or the struggles that your parents were dealing with, but we take on all of that energy, and that, becomes our genes and our genetics and the way that we express. And so, yeah, there's definitely a high possibility that there's generational trauma to clear.
Okay, but I can get rid of that myself, even though that's something that they would have probably created, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You can definitely clear that and create a whole new paradigm, a whole new story. You are not the stories of your parents, your grandparents, any of your ancestors. So yeah, all of that
Okay,
can be
great. Because I no
reframed.
longer want to carry that. I notice myself like, having a desire to do certain things, but then having that fear and letting it hold me back and
Mm-hmm.
these limiting beliefs and different stories or whatever. So yeah, I definitely think it probably runs a little deep that I want to get rid of.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you got that the link also for the session, because we can talk about that totally on that call if you want to book and go deeper on that and see what we can kind of arrange for a plan for you to work through that a little bit.
Yes, I saw you drop that for me. I'm definitely going to schedule one with you. Okay,
Awesome.
great.
I'll look
Thank you
forward
so
to
much.
it. My pleasure. My pleasure. Is there anything else I can answer for anybody before we wrap up? Anybody? If not, then I will let everybody back to their days. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I truly do enjoy these workshop weeks and everything that gets shared. Definitely don't take for granted the ways that you all show up vulnerably and present here and doing the work and all of the amazing progress that you all are making. And please know that the more that you can contribute and share within the school community, the better ideas I get for next month's workshop and the one after that. I don't create things because I'm like thinking this is what we need. I create things based on what I see in there and the responses that I'm getting from people and what's needed. So that's hopefully how I'm able to serve you guys at a high level in here. So I hope that you guys got something out of this today and this was beneficial for you. Yes, thanks for being here, Emil. Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate all of you. And you'll get an email just as soon as this is up in the classroom, and I'll send you a link so that you can enjoy any part of it that you like. And you know what? If you guys know other people that would benefit from this, I love having people who know people that are already in the community join my school community. That's how we get really good people in there, and we grow the community with other people who are looking to heal and grow. So always appreciative. If there's ever anybody that would enjoy that, please invite them to join us over there, and I will welcome them with open arms and be happy to have them. So thank you guys all for being here today. Appreciate you all. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the community. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.